Hey, what's up? I just want to do a quick how-to on how to replace the chain and sprockets on your Grom. So I have the Street Fighter version, the 2017 model. First thing you're going to do is you're going to come down. There's going to be this housing here. There's going to be a screw here at the top, a screw here at the bottom. Those are both 8mm, and you're going to have to need a extender like this so that you can reach in past your rear set and screw those. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to swap to a 10mm, and then here on these bolts here, they should come apart really easily. Once you unscrew them all the way, pull them out, and then there's this little bracket here, so you got to twist it and then you can slide it off just like that. And then once you do that, you can slide the entire sprocket off. Now this is the old sprocket here, and I'm actually downsizing my sprockets. So those match up there, but as you can see, it's slightly smaller. So that's just going to go on in reverse. Line up the hole pattern. This one has multiple holes. Put it back on. Replace this. It needs to go on and twist on. And then pull that out. You can screw these back into place, and that'll be your front sprocket done. One thing to note when you are tightening this down is you want to do it kind of progressively. So tighten one half of it, come over here, tighten the other, just so that you're kind of putting even pressure across the entire gear here, and you're not torquing down one side. Now the next step is going to be taking this chain off the bike. I'm not going to talk about master links today. If you know what it is and know how to take them off, go ahead and do it. But I don't have a master link on this. So what I have is a chain breaker here. It's a tool that you can use to pop the links open and then reinsert new ones. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Now I'm not going to be able to do this while on camera, because I need two hands to do it, but you'll put it in and then you'll start tightening it up, and I'll just push the link through the center there. All right, here we are. We screwed that in, and it has now pushed this link out of the chain here. So now I'll just undo this and the chain will be off. There we go, popped it out. You can see the hole where that pin used to be, and the chain is now broken. I'll just kind of pull the chain out here. Let's fed around, and that is the old chain off. Next step is going to be removing the tire. So all you need to undo the wheel is a 14mm wrench on one side and the 19mm wrench on the other. I believe I've swapped the axle around, so I think on stock it has a 14 here and the 19 on that side. But just so you know, 19 and a 14. Now once you get the bolts off the axle, you can then push the axle out through the other side, and then you'll be able to take the wheel off. Then after you pull out the axle, you can either then set the bike either on the swing arm here on the ground. What I do is I use car stands. I'll set them under, put it under there, or if you have a motorcycle stand, you could just use that. But this is what it looks like here if you're using the jack stand. So you can see it's jacked up there. It's got space for the wheel to move, which then takes the pressure off the axle here. And you can slide it out pretty easily. If you need to, use a hammer to slightly tap it out through the side there. One thing to note when you take this off is this is your brake here. And you can see this square here. When reapplying it, you want to make sure that it goes back into that channel here. If you don't, I didn't do that for the first time. I took the tire off. My braking wasn't working quite the same until I figured that out. So make sure that goes back where it belongs when you put it back together. Now with the tire off right now, you can see on this side, we got the sprocket here and these 4 bolts. These are 14mm. But because of this ridge, it makes it really difficult. So if you have a ratchet, make sure you use that. Alright, and then when you finish unscrewing these, get all the bolts off, This will pop right off. The shield stays attached to it here. So here we go, put that back on, re-put on the screws, and then re-put on the axle. Remember, again, you want to tighten in kind of like a cross pattern here, because if you tighten this side really tight, there might be some looseness, then these can't get all the way tight. Whereas if you kind of work around the outside, it makes them all go down nice and easy and get you the best fit. One thing I recommend when putting the tire back on is starting with the caliper. So you can kind of put it on, make sure it's on both sides of the disc, make sure that it's in that, as you push it up into that little slot. You want to line it up here with the axle. I still need to loosen the tensioners here so I can move the axle over into place, and then also these things like to fall out. So yeah, make sure that those are in and holding the spacers. As you can see on my tensioner here, which I pulled out a little bit, I was basically to the end of the threads there. So yeah, it was definitely time for a new chain. Once you have everything to go, lift the tire up into place, start putting the axle through. I'm starting to have a little issue with it here, so I'm going to take a hammer and lightly tap it. Now if you need to, you can come around the swing arm here. You can see it's just at the other side here, so I need to raise the tire just a bit to get it through into the tensioner system here. And when complete, you'll see it's sticking back out through the other side here. Just put your washer back on, your bolt here, and then tighten it down. Not all the way though, because we still need to tension it after we put the chain on. At this point, you can put it back down on the ground, because as the weight of the bike will then push your axle up closer there so that you can get a tighter fit on the chain. One thing to note, if you're at this point and you find that the square block here on the brake is not in place, you can put this near the top here, slide the wheel at an angle, and that should be enough space to clear and get it back into the channel there. When it's assembled properly, it should look just like that, and you shouldn't be able to lift it out of that channel. Now you can feed the chain through however you like. I like to start up here on the front because you kind of have this shelf here. Slide it back, come in, pull it, and then pull it through out around the chain, and then this one up around the front sprocket before looping back and then reconnecting them back together. Then when putting the breaker back together, you'll want to screw this in bit all the way out, drop your little pin in there, screw it in, and then repin it. You do need to, you can turn your bike on your side so it's easier to get to. If you have a higher quality breaker, it might be easier, but with this one being so cheap, what I usually recommend is starting with the pin out just a little bit so you can get the spotting of it, and then tighten it from here with a wrench, and then you can get it in, and then once you make sure that you've gotten it through the hole, then you can spin it into place. And if you go too far like I just did, you can see how that's flat now. Just reverse the tool and push it back the other direction so it just sticks out a little bit on each side. Now when we come to tighten the chain, we can see up here where it has a drive chain. So 1 inch and 3/4 inch, 1 3/4 inch is how much free play there should be in this chain. So I'll get a measure and dial that in. Now I've tightened this up pretty good. As you can see, as I go up to the top there, inch down and just under 1.5 inches up. So yeah, that's about how much play you should have in your chain there. 1 to 1 3/8. Now tighten the axles back up. Once you do that, I do recommend tightening it just a little further on the tensioners, because you want this to be tight, held in place, and then you want as much tension as possible kind of holding that out so then those nuts don't come off. Put the cover back on, and you'll be good to go. And there we have it, all done. If you know what you're doing, it only takes like 15-20 minutes. If you don't, you got little problems, like plan on like an hour for this. But yeah, the more you do it, the better you get. Yeah, I tend to change my chain every 5,000 miles, so you know, it's just enough time to forget how to do it between them. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy, just to remember how to do it still. And yeah, this was the first time I actually changed the sprockets out on it, even though, yeah, I probably should have done that a long time ago. Keep tuned. I'll try and post some more anytime I need to modify something. Usually I do it because it's like, oh, the tire's wearing out, I need to change the tire or something like that. So yeah, if you want basic kind of maintenance stuff, stay tuned. Next time I need to maintain something on the bike, I'll share it with you guys. Now I got the stuff that I took off the Grom on the workbench. We can look at it a little more closely just to see why you should do some of this. So this is the old chain here. As you can see, it's super dirty, but also if we come in here, like that's surface rust. Everything still kind of looks good on the inside, except for the fact, maybe, yeah, see that one's gotten really, that one right there is really starting to wear on the inside. That's why your chain is stretching, because it should be conical like that, but then it gets worn down like you see there, and then that's your chain stretch. The chain doesn't actually stretch, it just gets worn down and slops up. And yeah, so if we look at the front sprocket here, now again, I did only change this one because I was trying to, I went to a stunt sprocket, slightly smaller, 1 tooth smaller, so it should give me a little bit more torque. Brings my top speed down, which is fine. I don't need to be going, 60 miles an hour because the roads I ride. These don't look too bad. They're pretty square, still up top. So yeah, this probably could have stayed the front sprocket just fine. But yeah, because I changed it. Back to this one, you can really see the shark finning on this. So these should be square like the last, like that one. That's what it should look like. But these are very much pointed, have worn down, and then that's also part of the slop in the chain that makes it stretch. So that's a good one there, where that one's still pretty square. But you can see just so many of these are pointed, as well as this chain guard. I've had my chain slide off so many times, this thing just got mangled and it doesn't really do much. So yeah, rear sprocket definitely needed to be replaced. Chain definitely needed to be replaced. Front sprocket, still could have gotten away with it, as I'm at like 15,000 miles now. So again, it's only been about 5,000 since I replaced the chain, because I replaced that every 5,000 miles. I have never replaced the sprockets. Front sprocket's still good. Rear sprocket at 15,000, I would definitely recommend changing.